Welcome, welcome, welcome to Blindly Inspired. And where are we going today? What interesting tidbits can we weave together on this fabulous planet of ours? Some of our ancient future, some of something old, something new, something woven, something true, and move on with absolute fabulousness. So, yeah, 1st of April, 2026, April Fool's Day. Um, like most things, been twisted and warped and misconstrued and um, turned into something dark. What is it with the West? I don't know. I stopped hacking away at that. I'll have to get onto that again. Oh, I've got this beautiful light. It's my April light. So April Fool's Day. So let's just welcome in the amazing energy because we really are having a new year. So I am wishing us, and it is so beautifully appropriate as we have these planets moving direct, and the path is open, and we shall be blessed with this amazing pink light of love and a hug from the beautiful universe as we move forward after a little bit of a bumpy start into the year. We've got through such extraordinarily big energies. Don't breathe, don't rest too long. I think we can briefly rest for a little while. Might just put our breathing down to a Scotty, my love. New year, I do agree totally. And it feels very new. There's this whole expectancy. Scotty, you have to wish me happy birthday because I have a birthday yesterday. Just in time for the new year. So, yeah, I did have really quite a very sweet time. I had a cake hangover. I've still got a cake hangover. Or maybe it's just a New Year's hangover energy. Oh my goodness. The headaches, the pressure's on. But I have been taking it like a little easy and just assimilating some things. Missed you, my beautiful Scotty. I hope you're well. I think we're also, which is really great. So everything's just sinking into beautiful energy this year. So got a nice long weekend, whatever you do with it. this week. We have Thursday tomorrow. Thank you, my love. Yeah. No, it was actually most surprised. Really, really sweet. It was actually very sweet. Of course, I miss my boy. I miss my little dog so much. I mean, he's here a lot, but I really do miss him big time. Huge time. But he's very alive and very much. But oh, I mustn't talk about it. I'll start crying. I miss that little warm face, that little cuddly warmth. Yeah. An energetic warmth is not quite the same as a flesh and blood warmth. Yeah. But yeah, he's nature is talking a lot. And I have to admit, I didn't go out today. I was talking to the birds. We were having a long chat through the window. Tweet, 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 tweet. I was just feeling a little extra slack. A full moon, and it's a pink moon. It's a beautiful pink moon. So we're being blessed with an amazing amount of love because we had quite a radical moon, the last one. Full moon, the last full moon. I think was that not the eclipses? Hey, I don't know. I just know it's all been I don't know. I don't know. Right now, I don't know what day it is. I really don't. I don't care about not knowing what day it is. Uh, I know that somewhere it said it's going to be Easter. It's one of the first years in many a long time. Not because I do it because I'm religious. I just do it because I like to do the fast. And it's like the first year I haven't done it. I might go to our little church just because it's sweet, and I shall take my mantra, my my my, my Indian beads with me and say my mantra because I don't understand what they say anyway. And then they do a nice breakfast. So, and I'll get my flour, and it's no, it's actually it's really sweet because you go and it's very dark in the morning, and then you light candles, and it slowly lights up, and it's like really quite pretty um, to celebrate the Easter Sunday there. Yeah. But yeah, I am enjoying the new year. That feels more important for me. New moons are more important. They're more powerful than um, the full moon. The full moon is the expansion and it's the completion. So it's a time to reflect. And obviously, it's nice to go outside. But the Easter's on Sunday. Easter never. Uh-huh. It was just that we got good Easter eggs. I think I went to church once. I can remember going maybe twice. But I think my father had a guilt trip when he was divorced. But we got parcels twice a year from Germany. We got the Easter, the German parcel, the Christmas parcel, and the Easter parcel. And he always hid the eggs. And what else did we do on Easter? We didn't do hot cross buns. That was no, not at all. Um, I don't know what we did. We didn't paint eggs or anything like that. We just got our parcel of chocolate from Germany, and it wasn't that. I mean, it was enough because we didn't really eat South African chocolate. Wasn't very nice. We didn't compared to the German chocolate. It's always you don't. Yeah, when we used to love our South African chocolate, so we'd swap parcels. Um, um, I, I adopted way more of the ritual stuff when I became a when I became a Rudolf Steiner, right? Uh, because that was like always very crust based at the bottom. They do some really wonderful little ceremonies here. I've actually completely forgotten about that right now. That would be, is it on Saturday? I think it's on Saturday. The Saturday, maybe it was. No, it is the Saturday. They had the Easter fire. Yeah, no, we didn't get candy, but they do a really nice little tradition-y thing up here in the north. First of all, what they do is they decorate trees outside because they've got no leaves on them. So you can get, I suppose once upon a time they were real eggs, but you buy these really beautiful painted, decorated plastic eggs that are so cheap they cost like €1 for 10, and they're really pretty. Um, so they decorate them like you do Christmas trees, and they are all almost everybody has like a branch. Um, they did branch in their home where they string up all these beautiful eggs. It's very pretty. So they make it kind of festive. They also, what do they have? They have, is that now? No, that's for Easter. That's for Christmas. That they have the raisin bread with the man with the pipe. I think that's for Christmas, or maybe it's now. I haven't been to a bakery for so long. But then what they also do, they collect, and I think it's northern Germany. I don't think I never knew about it. So after Christmas, the freiwillig, the free, what do you call it, the volunteer fire department, they go around. It's like the 6th of January. You put your Christmas tree outside, and they collect all the trees. Like it's the thing that they do, and then they hold them. Yeah, awesome, like yeah, Easter trees. And then they make this fire. There's all they're all over the place. Wherever there's like a little fire department or an open field, so the fire department go. I always think it's quite cute because the volunteer they're not like they don't get a proper salary. Obviously, they do get a salary, but so they can't strike. They can't go on a strike like they do around the world, because it's the freiwillig. So people it's a big thing from little kids, very quite young kids. It's their social that they'll go like once or twice a week to the fire department and they learn all sorts of things. And most people have a job, but then they also freiwillig fire department. So then they'll go there for chat and beer. Everything's got beer in Germany. Okay, so then they make these huge bonfires, and I mean they're huge. The fire, the wood is like the size of a house. So like we've got double-story houses, so that's as big as the wood is. And then they make this motherfucking big fire. It's insane. It's so big. It's so wonderful. It's like big fire. And then the fire department, they will do what was it? Oh, yeah, you can get like hot chocolate and stuff. You can just put like 10 cents for it if you want. You can get it for free if you want. Um, there's always beer and bratwurst, which is not for free. And then they do this crazy stuff, which is dough on a stick. And it's like bread dough on a stick. And then you sit around a fire and then you toast your bread. So it's kind of one. It's good head beans. Cool. You listen to Christmas music. Yeah, the decorations. I don't like the music. Hmm. Oh, well, you can do it. I always and I kind of like would make these, especially when I went back to South Africa with this idea, because my birthday is always round about Christmas. So I didn't really do it outside of this egg thing, but I'd make this beautiful, fabulous, and they really catch. I'd really do like the pink and the blue and the white and the look with these with eggs and hang them all over. It's like this triple tiered kind of fabulous concoction that I would make. Yeah, with like branches in a vase, and yeah, it was like super catch. Yeah. Yeah, and then that's why I was thinking about it with the eggs. And then the fire burns down, and all these young kids. It's one time when I mean I'm even I like get a bit horrified how these kids like play with the fire. I mean, obviously and they're just allowed to do it. It's really busy. It's full. There's like hundreds of people that go for this fire. It's like you're burning off all your dross of like the year before Easter, the Easter Sunday. Um, and then when the fire burns down, as I said, these kids play. They take branches and they play, and it's like even I just think, oh my god, that's so dangerous. They're playing with like seriously big fire. And then they have this big like crane with eggs, with a pot of eggs in it, a big boiling pot with water and eggs in it. And they actually, when the fire burns down a little bit, it's a very traditional to boil like these huge like urns, cauldrons of eggs over the fire. And then when the fire gets a little lower, then everybody goes and jumps over the fire. And then they almost always have people that arrive with huge boxes of chocolate, boxes of Easter eggs and Easter bunnies and little packets. People love giving away chocolate. So that's, I don't know if I'll do it this year though. I don't know where there's one near my, we just got old people where I live. Anyway, so the first, and why I know this is that my daughter's birthday was on the 25th. So I've known this for many, many years. I don't know. I don't even know where. I don't know. I just think I know so much incredible, useless, a lot of it very useless. No, I suppose it's useful information that I kind of string together. So I don't know why I didn't do it on the 25th. And what I didn't know was that it's relatively new. They changed. They kind of officially changed the calendar in the mid 1500s, and then they really only enforced it properly in the 1700s. So before that, New Year was on the 1st. Millie, my love, how are you? Happy New Year to all the beautiful fools, the wise fools. So as well as the stuff that I know, which we'll get now, is the wise fool and the queen's fool and the king's fool, which I knew was French and English. We all love Millie. Millie's very special. Thank you, Millie, for being Millie. Oh, so there's quite a few layers to this for April's Fools. So we had the Fool, but where the April Fool came in, I suppose it really doesn't have anything to do with the Fool. But before that, it's quite recent, and they kind of flipped. When should they make Jesus's birthday? Should it be in December solstice, or the spring, or the summer solstice? So they decided on the Christmas one because there were already so many festivals going on. So it's my favorite card too. I love the Fool. Yeah, because he's got a dog. He just got a dog, and he's just like, I'm off on my journey. The youth. Yeah, so they would. So I knew it very much from England, but they did it. I think they did the whole story. Well, they did the New Year. The same New Year was April the 1st, and I'm sure they would have done it pretty much it was kind of the end of the tax year, the 25th, so it was the end of the fiscal year. And the 25th was actually, the 25th of March was the day that the Queen chose her new ladies in waiting. And it was also all sorts of contracts came to an end, like just everybody's contract came to an end on the 25th of April. So people were, they would literally, the streets were busy with people moving their things from to another. Then they would go and like work on another farm because that was the contract that they were getting for the next year, or they were going to go and be stonemasons somewhere else. So everything finished on the 25th of March, and they would go to, well, not always to the castle, but they would go to the law offices and the tax offices, and everybody had to have their papers in by the 25th. So very much like our tax here now, tax returns. And people would kind of have these free days where they would literally pack up and move. So everybody was moving around. They were moving lock, stock, and barrel. I suppose maybe that's where it came from too. And the queens, like ladies in waiting, were either reinstated or new ones would be chosen, which was a huge big thing. Obviously, people wanted to be ladies in waiting. And remember, lots of people, it wasn't just the queen that had ladies in waiting, everybody had, she just had like lots. And obviously the most important ones, but there were many people that were semi-royalty or had all their stuff. Don't forget they didn't have vacuum cleaners in those days. So yeah, washerwoman, cooks, all of those people, their contracts would come to an end and then either be renewed or they would go to another place. So there was all this movement around for those days, which then culminated on this great big fabulous party on the 1st of April. And that was which was officially when the new year began. So people would revel, and you were not an April Fool. So then what happened in France, and I don't know, I wonder if that actually became the word all the way around. They would call him an April fish, but that's like an April poisson, which is a fish in, I don't know why they called them a fish in French. And they would like stick fish on them because those were the people that, there's always people that don't want to change and they like the old way, which I think was just so much better because, there was all this revelry and partying because it was going to be really busy after Easter. Then you'd have to start your spring planting, and the animals were having babies, and you had to remake the barn and all those fabulous things. Salute, my love. Yeah, coffee's a good idea. It's a bit late for coffee for me, but sipping is good. Yeah, so that's where they were called in an April Fool. Salute. Who got green tea? I used to like tea, marijuana tea. We used to get it in copious amounts, like marijuana. It was one of my favorite to make tea with all the grotty stuff. We used to get it. It was called an arm. Maybe you would have got it in the old days in America, and it was literally like the size of your arm, your forearm, and as thick. And that was just for then you would sort everything out. Yeah. Yeah. So those were the people. So they were called in April Fools, and they were ridiculed and kind of stamped out of town because by the 1700s, I was really like, I thought it was much earlier than that. But so it only became like they thought of doing it. They were talking about it and kind of tried to change. It was the change of the Gregorian to the Gregorian calendar, which was like the middle of the 1500s, but they really started enforcing it in the 1700s, which I thought was like, which I thought was quite late. Oh, anyway. So what the fool was, the fool. It's why I don't think. I mean, I think they've just got them all mixed up a little bit, And then there's Carnival, which is like the end of Carnival. It's like they're waiting to do Carnival again. No, that happens on the 11th of the 11th. So people are like kind of the end of their they're finishing their fast, their Lenten fast, and they've been moving. But the fool was the court jester, or was the fool. I made some pretty stuff, and then I did do a little extra digging. So the fool was all around Europe, and in fact, actually, like, I knew that they had kind of counselors in the Persian court, but pretty much everywhere. So I was like really quite, except of course India. You know, to ask about India, they had a lot more respect for their wise people. So the story is that the king had his fool or the court jester, and they usually were. They spoke cryptically. They knew that, while they were burning the witches, you had these witches dancing because they knew that they were wise people. They had the second sight, and they were advisors to the king and to the queen. Um, as I say, they all had second sight. We don't know. Has anybody heard from Lindsay? We don't know where Lindsay is. I haven't seen, but I haven't been around for a while either. And this had, I think it's got like really like messed up with the Joker and the Fool, and like turned into a dark thing, which it really wasn't. Once upon a time it was the Holy Fool, who was dressed slightly comedic, and he had this his hat, which was sort of a parody of the king's crown, and he often had his like little stick with like a little puppet on it, which was also a parody of the king's scepter. But he would come and very often prophesy, but usually, or very often, he was sent in to tell the king some bad news or to lighten up a heavy meeting. But always he was the king's advisor, and the bells on his hat would actually signify that he was about to walk into the room. So the king knew, oh God, thank goodness, we can lighten this mood a little bit, Like, I think these political, we should have more fools around today. Mhm. So I was just like really interested who also celebrated roundabout, who actually celebrated the new year now, being like spring. So a lot of cultures actually celebrate in about 2 weeks. They go with the lunar calendar, and we've just had Navratri, which is like acknowledging the woman, and it's part of. None of them really celebrate a definite day. So, but it is this whole New Year thing. A lot still have that, but it is that New Year of being able of planting and new growth, and obviously new bunnies and the bambies and the lambings and all sorts of things. Um, what else? Oh, I forgot what I was going to say. Just my head is tired. I was just wondering, but this was the Hopi dirt. Oh, a lot of people, obviously, so many people, especially in our dark countries, do celebrate this turning over Samhain, which is winter time, and they wait and wait. But we've gone through a really massive portal, and the energies have just been so strong with this equinox. Um, Today is just feeling like another portal and going through into this. We've got a lot of like planetary stuff happening, which I think I'll look at tomorrow. I'm not looking at today. Um, so who else is celebrating? And then I'll go into who is doing the Fool and the court jester. And the Queen had her Fool as well. And it became very popular in the 1500s, which was Queen Elizabeth. She the first. She really brought tarot cards and mysticism and wise women and theatre. And people didn't have theatre before that, so she brought a lot of that into the court. The Persian court also, they were very clear that they definitely had the advisors to the king. They were usually well versed in astrology, but they were very witty with words and very cryptic. And it was my thought, that's where sarcasm and satire really started, where people are not saying anything clearly. Um, and as I said, I just always, as usual, I love my Vedic stuff. I'm very, very partial to it. They had like huge respect for their wise people. They didn't need them to dress up as fools. Um, the astronomers who were like, and the mathematicians, they were all respected in India, in Bharat. So who have we got? We've got quite a few coming. In mid-April, the Indians are doing something. Um, the Tamils are doing something where they decorate with rice flour and patterns, and they do those really sacred patterns to start the new year. Um, so if you're not, this is really a good time to be spring cleaning. Please do, because we should be cleaning out our houses. We should have been doing it a bit before, because I'm not sure when Passover is. It's usually a natural thing that happens. And the Persians are also doing something. And the Bengalis, mainly in India, and that's halfway through. They're similar, but they're different, and they wear new clothes, and they businesses open new books. So it's really those things are really important to start. So a lot of new things are happening. So just enjoy the next 2 weeks and just really prepare yourselves nicely. Lots of music, lots of celebrating going on, bits and pieces all over the place, because it is. Um, and we just recently had quite a few celebrations. I think it's said that the Persians have their new year now, which is, what's his name? Mazda. They don't have a god, they just have a book. Um, that's like Iran and Afghanistan and Central Asia. Thailand are having their new year. They're interesting. They have a water festival held in mid-April. So just have a look at that one. I don't know what that's going to be about, which symbolizes purification and washing away bad luck. So I love this stuff. I used to say that you can if you just hang around, you can celebrate New Year pretty much the whole year round. You've just got to know who's having New Year. So if you missed this one, you can do the next one. Um, oh, it was shifted in mid-century France in the 16th century. So it was 1582 when they shifted. So people were doing the ledgers, and then it was King Charles the Ninth, and then obviously late Pope Gregory. But with this whole church thing, that every time that they had a new pope, they would mhm, yeah, is orange got Funyuns? Mm. There's lots. You can have a Christmas every year, and you can have a New Year every month. You've just got to know. Scotty, did you have a birthday, my love? When did you have a birthday? Wasn't the 1st of April? I know that you're a March baby. Oh, you're a March baby. I know that you're an Aries baby. Ah. Oh, thank you so much. It's not so late. It's like my mother tried hard. I wasn't coming on April Fool's Day. Has Lindsay got married? Hmm. Hmm. Is it your birthday on the 1st? No, Scotty. Thanks, Millie. Are you really? Are you really a 1st of April baby? Wow, well done. So, mine was yesterday, but yeah, no, I was born in the morning, 7:27 in the morning. So it was a good Friday. Were you also born on some fabulous day? Well, Evelyn, they got married. Oh, I'm so glad for her. I really am. It's just so wonderful. So we'll, from now on, hello Trista, we shall call April the 1st, which is no longer All Fool's Day. It is going to be Happy Scotty Day. We shall never forget that it's Scotty Day. The great joker. That's why he's a joker. Hmm, which is so cool. Hmm. So, uh, as a person of the April fish. I don't know why they were called a fish, the April Fool. And the pink moon, I mean, it's like so disappointing. It's just because there are a whole lot of flowers that are like under the pink moon that are pink. So that's my Boxing Day. Uh, yeah, I just knew that I was just getting all these wonderful blessings coming in. I almost always get these exciting. Something's happening. Oh, okay, okay. Well, at least you got a hump, hey, Scotty. Even if it was just a full moon. Hmm. Okay, Persian New Year is now. Exact moment the sun crosses the celestial. A lot of people do that, so they acknowledge those four turnings. Um, I think that we don't need to do all these other silly, ridiculous things. I think we should really just do four celebrations, just because the earth celebrates them, and those are the equinoxes and the solstices. Um, there's more than enough power in all of those. There's, the earth half half, and the coming of the sun, and the coming of the losing of the sun, and the cold, and the earth literally standing still for a couple of days before it turns. And we just feel it. You can feel that pull. So, the ancient Romans also celebrated, the Indians at their harvest festival now. Um, but back to the yeah, I just thought it was like, so really, it was really only started being officially pushed in the new year changed only in round about 1752, and that was just like a couple of days ago. In the scheme of things, I really thought it was like around about the year 300, but it only was thought about in 1500. Well, it must have. I must have known that, eh? But it was only thought about at the end of the mid 1500s, and really like seriously enforced at the end of the 1700s. So yeah, no, I hope no. They look very. Her and David look very sweet. I think she's just disappeared and gone under the radar. And she's not coming back. I don't blame her. She had a tough time where she was. Okay, then I just asked all about the Lady Day and the Quarter Day, and that they had all that celebration. It was like free party for the commoners while everybody did the paperwork. Um, I think they also the fiscal year is also in it didn't change in England. It's also like now the tax year starts on April the 6th. So, some things don't change. But so everybody had this wonderful fall in their court, all the way from Poland to France, all in Europe, in Persia, in the interesting ones that I found. Um, so I think I saw that you guys were talking about governance the other day. I think this is just such a perfect way that we should have the year start again on the 1st of April. Get like all the paperwork and have a party, get all the paperwork done. The commoners move around, have like free day to move and settle in, and then have a big party on the 1st of April, and then get down to work again because we have to get down to business. Yeah. Mhm. That's just all that I asked it about the April. Yeah. So yeah, actually that was just beautifully as I said it. So it wasn't just a party. So it was really, and this, as I said, we're moving into this time for 3 months where we actually don't have any, which is really unusual. It's a very, very, very long stretch of no planets retrograde. So we've got a obviously there's lots of stuff popping around, but it's reasonably a smooth pathway from now. Well, about a week ago, when especially I think it was Mercury, then went direct. And we've had so much extreme power over those last 2 weeks of March, which were really like pushing. It was like this whole big flood of water just pushing us to this point. This is a point right now for the next day or two where we can just pivot and just wait. It's like our launch pad, like the rockets are going up to space. As we just actually have this whole like reset, let our bodies reset. It's like we don't need more light, we need more integration. And that's really out there. We really need to integrate more. We need to take on our power more. We need to listen more. Talking to myself as well. And I think a lot of things not for everybody, but for a lot of people have also changed again. Yeah. Being focusing where you're going. Um, renewing your contracts. So this is a good time to do that. I like these times because I feel that the energy of the earth is really supporting what we're doing. Um, so we've had this whole energy shift. Agriculture seeds are going to start. Mhm. Seeds were going to start sprouting. Um, isn't it? It's just so amazing that you can have a seed that if it's only sprouts in spring, it's not going to do anything all winter until the conditions. You can have seeds for thousands of years until you put them in the right condition. They're not going to do anything. Yeah. I'm like, I'm just like amazed. And that they don't lose. I mean, they planted seeds that they found in the pyramids that are thousands of years old, and they just boom, grow fresh as a daisy, like they were last season's. That's actually really scared. Have you seen what's happened? That's I find like really like pause for a huge amount of concern. Is what Monsanto and Bayer, because they bought them, and the whole seed industry, the food you're allowed to plant. And it's not just in America. It's I'm not sure what they're doing here in Europe, but I know they just did it with the Arabs, that they're only allowed to plant these seeds which you can get from them, and they're only 1 year seeds. So you can't collect your own seed like you did like 50 years ago. You know, the farmers would collect their own seed and store them for the next year. You have to grow the seed that they give you. And it's like a whole war. You know, it's like the mafia. They'll go and burn your barns. It's happening all over the world if you're not planting these seeds. I know that lady, I don't know what her name is. That Indian lady, she's got this huge big red dot. Go, go, go and play nicely. And think about your reset. Huh? You can blink that. Ah. But can't we all? It's like blinking. It just gives me a headache. It's like strobe lights. Donk, donk. Have a beautiful. You usually have breakfast on a Friday. Oh no, it's not Friday. It feels like Friday. Maybe because we've got weekends. I don't know. Here I am. Okay. But they were just some nice. There's a hardly a satire of the very institutions they advised. While the monarch wore a crown of gold, the jester wore a crown of mockery, designed to signal their unique status as a truth teller who existed outside the normal social hierarchy. Um, oh, that was so cool. I didn't know this. So before that, you know that story of the king has got donkey ears. So I don't know if I've got any others here. No, those were also the fools. Here we go. So before that, they used to wear donkey's ears before the three-pointed hat. Jesters wore hoods with long, floppy donkey ears. This was a direct reference to the Feast of Fools and the idea that the wise were often the most foolish, while the fool held the true donkey like patience and insights. And then that kind of coxcomb thing. Many hats featured a central ridge of red fabric called a coxcomb, mimicking a rooster's crest. This symbolized crowing, the truth at dawn, waking the king up to realities that his other advisors were too scared to mention. The 3 points by the 1600s, the donkey ears and the coxcomb merged into the three-pointed hat we know today. Some historians suggest that these points represented the ears and tail of a donkey, while others see them as a parody of a royal crown or a bishop's mitre. The bells were not just foot jingling. As they danced, they served a tactical and psychological purpose. The presence and protection. The bells announced the jester's arrival in a tense court meeting. Hearing the bells allowed the king to relax, knowing the person entering was licensed to break the tension or deliver bad news without the usual etiquette. And remember, they could kind of go anywhere. Let's just see. It's some of the nice ones that popped up. Oh, yeah, here they go. Oh, I love these. These were so nice. Mhm. The high-ranking officials often wore ceremonial bells or jewelry. The jester's constant noisy jingling mocked the self-importance of the nobility. It was a sound that reminded everyone that all is vanity. But they would speak in parody, yeah? Which is, we'll get into that just now, which is also super. He was the psychic star advisor. In many courts, the jester was indeed a star advisor or natural philosopher. And I don't know who Mr. Trump has, but I know that there was a lady called, was it Jean Dixon? Jean Dixon. She was a brilliant psychic who was a psychic to Kennedy. And of course, Kennedy had his muse. He had Marilyn, who taught him to talk. And she schooled him very much, I think, changed his thought patterns quite a bit. His marot, the scepter the jester carried, a mock scepter called his marot, often featuring a miniature version of their own head. This represented the inner voice or familiar spirit, and they would often talk to the scepter to give the king's advice indirectly. So they were super channelers. Yeah. Direct, like babbling their psychic insights. And they were asked huge, big questions. And of course, the tarot connection. This is why the Fool is card 0 in the tarot. He is the one who has nothing to lose and therefore can see everything. In many decks, Fool is depicted walking towards a cliff while looking at the stars, the ultimate symbol of a person who listens to divine celestial intuition rather than earthly rules and playing with the stars. And they were tellers of truth. Okay, that was like, and they very often, because the kings, they didn't really listen. There are a couple of cute stories that came up here. Um, there was a famous example of a jester acting as a wise political advisor in Triboulet, who served the French King Louis the 12th and Francis the First. While he is often remembered for his sharp tongue, his most legendary save was actually his own life, using the very wit that got him into trouble to avoid the executioner's block. I mean, if the king didn't like, they would also like, whoops, off with your head. So he was known as the man who outwitted death. Triboulet once slapped King Francis I on the backside during a court event. Infuriated, the king ordered him executed. The impossible apology. The king offered Triboulet a single chance at mercy. He had to come up with an apology that was more offensive than the slap itself. Mm-hmm. Mhm. Oh, interesting. She's my hero, and I absolutely, I like. I did such a deep dive on that woman for so many years. Yeah, she was she was really not stupid, and she had a particular way with animals as well. Birds would just come and say she was apparently her IQ was smarter than. what's his face? Einstein. But she was smart. She started her own company, her own film company. She managed herself. Mm. But and yes, obviously she didn't die a natural death. But she was like kind of wiped out by the end. She really didn't look so good. She was seriously into, I think she knew too much. And she was now into the other brother as well, the other president. So, no, the eunuchs was something else. Not sure. The eunuchs looked after the often because I'm sure that meant that besides keeping their voices high, and that they would look after the women, and especially in the harems, it was run by eunuchs. But then, of course, you had the soprano boys that were also like castrated, so that their voices didn't break. But you're very psychic when you're a child, so maybe that also had something to do with actually castrating, that they would actually maintain the third eye, the third sight a lot clearer. That's probably. Mhm. Eunuchs, how do you spell a eunuch? Uneuch has got a strange word. Yeah, people are just say they really it's a whole thing too. That's why they castrate bulls and they castrate your dogs. It's like to tame the male species. Um, I don't know. A very interesting thought, Millie. That's very interesting. But she was more. Obviously, they watched her. Obviously, they were. She was totally remodeled by um, mm, Warhol, Andy Warhol. She was young. Talking about grooming, I'm like a little obsessed with this Meghan Markle thing at the moment. But now that's nasty, nasty. She was groomed. That's my thoughts, my the end story. She was groomed by the Epsteins, and she had this thing, and I think this took her because she'd had a thing with Andy anyway, and she was one of his serious like yacht girls, and she knew that whole club very much. The pictures of her, but it was a way into the Mom she hello my love, Mama Frey. Um, yeah, she uses really. We can laugh at her, but she uses a lot of cheap tactics of psychology, and I think she knows a lot. That's why she's got away with so much, because of these connections with the Soho Club and Epstein and all of that, and Andrew. But I think now that it's just tumbling, 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 tumbling. So everybody's jumping on the tumble bandwagon. But she is not, and my gut feeling is that she does dark magic as well, and I think she's used hypnosis, and not for the good way, and manipulation, obviously. Um, but that she is so stupid that she can't actually take it. I don't know. She's very strange, and she's heard that mask is going to slip very soon. She's going to start smacking people. Anyway, so they're going to be very interesting. She's really cuckoo. So, but yeah, I think she had quite a bit of dirt on many people all over the place, which is why Hollywood and in England, yeah, she is, yeah. And then, of course, these children, which I think are just totally just adopted. Anyway. Oh no, the British didn't have a very clean past. They were encouraged, Anyway. So we were back at this impossible apology. So the king said to this dude, he said, okay, if you can, I will offer you a single chance of mercy. So remember, he smacked the king on his buttocks during a ceremony, and the king was so unimpressed. He said, to the guillotine, off with his head. So he said, okay, I'll give you one chance at mercy. So if you can come up with an apology that was more offensive than the slap itself. So Triboulet instantly replied, these guys, I'm sure that they were definitely such, they must have had their balls removed. They were like serious caustic wit. He instantly replied, I'm so sorry, Your Majesty, that I didn't recognize you. I mistook you for the Queen. So the twist that since mocking the Queen was strictly forbidden, the king's fury returned even stronger, and he confirmed the death sentence. However, out of respect for his years of service, he allowed the jester to choose the manner of his death. So the final move, so without missing a beat, Triboulet said, good sire, I choose to die of old age. I thought that was such a wonderful little entrapment. The king found this so hilariously clever that he commuted the sentence to banishment. So obviously they were also used. The small house, I know, floating on by the lake. I must actually do, I did these amazing pictures actually of there. I drew them. Maybe I'll get round to them one of these days and paint them. What was I thinking of painting? I don't know what I was thinking of. I know I painted some boards white, and I painted my table the other day. But yeah, okay, so the fools and the jesters were there to come and deliver like really bad news, especially during war. Turned him into a red cardinal. Red was an interesting color. I actually saw that the Muslims are not allowed to have any clothing that's dyed with cochineal. There was like so many wars were fought over this color red. It was like more valuable than gold, and only the wealthy could afford it. And it came from cochineal, but they had no idea what it was. It was totally magical, and it grew on what were those things? The cacti from South America. But they were so small that they couldn't see that they were bugs. So there were all sorts of wonderful stories about it. But it was discovered with the Spanish, along with the Inquisition. They discovered this red cochineal. So, but only the wealthy could have red, and it actually influenced the whole art and carpet making and paintings and the clothing. So, and then only it changed. So if you look at those paintings from that time, the men wore red, the men were very flamboyant. And then, I think it was during the Victorian age, they adopted the frock coat, the grey frock coat, and the pants and the top hat, and it didn't really change since then. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's moved into like weird things, people have over the years twisted what was of the thing. I used to like them. The pirouettes, these were nice. The pirouettes, were they? Where's some more? I did some more. I did like them. What they were more carnival-y type. Mm. So yeah, they could deliver. So uh, there was this great big battle of Sluys in 1340 when the French fleet was destroyed by the British. So no noble dared tell King Philip what had happened, except the jester's strategy, and the court jester entered and proclaimed, "The English don't even have the guts to jump into the sea like our brave French." So, so cryptic, yeah? So that's how they told him that. They had all died and jumped into the sea, allowing the king that they had been defeated, as his sailors had been forced to jump overboard, while giving him a buffer to digest the news without immediately beheading a general. So they had the Polish also had their court jesters and very similar dressing. So I mean, we were talking the other day about that it's the what is the Jungian thing, that we know these things within ourselves. So I wonder where the jester comes from. Mm, I can't pronounce this Polish name. Snacek is often depicted sitting in somber silence at a royal ball, being the only person in the room, worried about a lost battle while the nobility danced, obviously to the political disaster unfolding. The truth telling. So they are truth tellers, yeah. Um, but yeah, very often you had to think about it, what they were actually saying. Get back to Africa just now. That's very interesting. Um, but so as I say, everybody had. The Chinese had they had similar guys. The Chinese, the Japanese. Let's just get to some of these. Oh, these are a little small because I took them off. I didn't do too many. I didn't go everywhere. I found these guys very interesting. I will get to them just now. I didn't do the Japanese. They were called the Yu in China. A confidence to the king. Let's see where is that? They were called the Yu. The Chinese history is full of jesters, which were called Yu, who used Fengjian, remonstrating by indirection. Also, Confucius talk. The Twisty Pole, a famous jester who once talked the first emperor out of painting the Great Wall,
of China a logistical nightmare by jokingly suggesting that they also build a giant drying room for the paint. So eventually he got the sense of humor and decided he wouldn't paint the wall. It's a very big wall, hey? Goes on for like thousands of kilometers, miles. It's insane. In Japan, they had the taikomochi, and they were the male geishas of the shogun's court. While they provided music and dance, they were primarily strategic advisors who used humor to keep the shogun in good spirits so that serious political advice would be better received. In the Middle East, these were these guys that I knew that the Ottoman Empire had a lot of them like this. They would like dance and play for the Sultan. And they were well versed in all sorts of things, in like acrobatics and music and dance and astrology and sense as in aromas. And obviously, they were wordsmiths of note, um, because they were legendary for speaking dangerous truths. When a sultan asked if there was a food shortage, the jester retorted by pointing out that the sultan was still eating 5 times a day, shaming him for his excess while the people starved. In the Ottoman Empire, they were the Del Kavuk. I wonder if they came from a whole like they were professional jesters. So I mean, I suppose we were schooled. It was part of the bards. Well, they were a mixture. They were like the bard of everything, huh? And obviously, if they could do a couple of conjuring tricks, would have been even better for them. They were actually regulated guild. That's interesting. In the Ottoman Empire, they were the only ones who could break the silence of the Sultan's court, serving as a pressure valve for the immense tension of the empire. The fool wasn't just a distraction, they were the consciousness of the crown, the only person allowed to tell the absolute truth when everyone else was too afraid to speak. So in India, and I just knew my question would, I know this stuff, They didn't have the wise fools, because they had a lot more respect for their culture and for their mathematicians and their music and their astrologers that was deeply embedded in both real imperial history and classical literature, where they were viewed more as intellectual equals and spiritual guides rather than simple entertainers. More than enough entertainment went on. I am just so impassioned more as the hours go by, more and more impassioned with like the Vedas and like I'm really spending 99% of my time in India right now. And they were also they were called the Vidushakas. And then everything I want to study then opens up a whole like brand new 101,000 different new names and root words and uh, I saw I might entertain him this month, but I'm doing something else. Mm. 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 Yeah, you were a twin, you said, hey, Scotty. Mm.
You know, Scotty, it's your birthday. You can cry if you want to, and you can laugh if you want to. You can do what you like. It's your birthday. Uh-huh. Alone. I used to also laugh my birthday alone. Mm. Oh, sorry, Scotty. I'm just reading back here. Mm. Yeah, with balls or no balls, they had the strange things around their neck. The idea of beauty has changed over the years. Yeah, and oh yeah, so in India they were actually from the Brahmin caste, and they've been like dating back to ancient Sanskrit dramas. The Vidushaka was a standard character in the king's court. Um, he was a very high caste jester. Surprisingly, there was almost always a Brahmin, the highest priestly caste. By making the jester a Brahmin, the culture ensured he had the inherent spiritual authority to criticize the king without fear of being. The appearance, unlike the Western jester with a three-pointed hat, the voodoo shaka was often depicted as bald with a crow's foot. That's a very interesting thing that I've just been playing with for a while, and of course the crows. But it's this like like the Chinese have the queue, that ponytail, and it's like that whole thing. It's the that the avatar, because it's actually a very, very powerful point. And they have that little crow's foot, or they keep the queue there to actually keep it alive and awakened. And he spoke in Prakrit, and that was so interesting, yeah, that he spoke in Prakrit, and he also carried a bent wooden staff. He spoke in Prakrit, the common language, while the king spoke in Sanskrit, the language of the elite, acting as a physical bridge between the monarch and the everyday reality. Mm. And obviously, they have got so many stories because they wrote everything down. um, and then on the whole other side of the world, well, let's go through to Egypt. I find Egypt like fascinating because it's like this I didn't know, and I would never have guessed. Like I'm sure everybody else would not have guessed. Let's just see if we can find these funny dudes. Which, of course, but I don't want to dig down there too much right now in my life. I'm so over this. So this is Egyptian. This is the fool. They were from. He's not the best. There's a god called Bes. This is the god called Bes, who is the god of war. You'll see the Ankhs just now. Doesn't look Egyptian, eh? No, we would never have thought he was Egyptian. Here we go. He was the god of war, the god of partying, the god of jokes and stupidity, and the god and the god of childbirth. Yeah, revelry, partying, war. They were often that, hey? So there's the Ankhs. And he was actually a pygmy from down south. And I'm sure they would go and steal the little pygmy people. So these, when I was, there we go. The original Oompa Loompas again, those poor pygmy people. I think they must have like some extraordinary psychic abilities from they kind of come from the Congo, but they've really had such a bad rap. Well, not a bad rap. They've had the bad end of the stick. We want freedom for the pygmies. Everybody steals them and makes them work for them. So in the Congo, the taller Congos would make the pygmies go and pick the literally that whole story of Willy Wonka. It's not so far from the truth. Eh? He spent a lot of time in Africa, Roald Dahl did, and you know, he I read everything and anything I could about and by Roald Dahl. I was like a little obsessed with him. Um, but yeah, he was not so far from the truth. The little Oompa Loompas, they would make them go and collect the chocolate for the big people. Well, but so kind of what happens is that the white colonists would talk to, and you know what's so interesting about chocolate? I mean, it grows in South America as well, but it only grows on the equator line around the world. I mean, come on, that's like too like weird not to be weird. Eh? Hmm. He does, but I think anybody that's small like that look like they're pooping in the woods. Hmm. So yeah, so the Egyptians would run off down to and steal a pygmy or two because I think they all have like they have some very interesting. They must be quite psychic, just naturally born that way. A lot of Africans are just naturally born that way. Well, at first I thought it was because they'd starved so much and they had so much like such hard stuff, so that they see into through the veil quite easily. So I think it's a mixture. Yeah, they didn't have enough to eat. It should have had mushrooms in it. It was made for the heart. Mm. Ah. Mm. Mm. Yeah, interesting stuff happening again here in our lives. Mhm. Yeah. I'm going to do a thing on the because I've actually been like wading my way through some of the Vedas and like the original texts of about the chakras. It's like blowing my mind a little bit, and I think it's like quite important to actually put like some of that stuff out in its truth, not like this sort of semi-baked half quarter mishmash that we have because it's without sounding rude and arrogant or whatever you want to try and label me as. It's not what I mean. I mean it with deepest love. We've got too many pieces of the puzzle missing that it's almost impossible to finish um, all of the so-called truth that we have. Mhm. So, I mean, like, who knew that we were going to find these funny, crazy little pygmies in Egypt? So you can go and look up good old Bes, Bes, the god. So I thought they were joking when I asked for little pygmies. So
Yeah, but these people, they're just so totally in tune. They don't need they don't need nothing. All they do, they smoke. And they drink Coke. A lot of them, they drink cocoa chocolate. Not like we drink it. I know Nigeria, they drink it as like coffee, usually black, sometimes with a bit of sugar, but very often just as it's quite nice, just as a drink. Yeah. And then obviously we have the way down in South America, where I think we must have also in Peru had the pygmies looking very similar to that. Hello, Yukipa. Looking all very, very similar. That's of course that's a whole nother thing. We don't know yet all that's going to come out with that. And then of course, yeah, was like it's, I always found this quite sad. I'm not quite sure. Um, so then the other ones, of course, they were called. I don't know how you say it. The griots, 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 or the jolly people. They they were the African, but I think that they're so over, with all their dancing and their masks. But they also, I mean, it's just so steeped within their culture. Um, and they would tell stories as moral lessons for the public. And what was that? That was with the Dogon, and I thought that that was just so amazing how that the lineage gets passed on. That it will get passed to the oldest son of the oldest man in the village. No, the oldest child, not the oldest son. The older, because there are a lot of women that carry the lineage. So it's the oldest child of the oldest man, the oldest person. And that could change any day. And then you've lost your lineage and then it moves on to somebody else. Because if the old man dies, then it would move to the next oldest man. So that's how their lineage is. So it's kind of controlled, but it's not. It's left very much to the spirits. Um, but they were always they were writing. I mean, it's the yeah. I mean, the whole language. But let's not go there. Every yeah. We'll go there another time. So these guys, the Groits, they came from Western Africa. Okay, which I found very fascinating. Um, the figure most similar to a wise counselor jester is the Groit. But I think that they're not shamans, but I think that they are kind of. I mean, they like those because they all dance. And when you dig deep into what's happened with Ebola, how they go with the masks and try to, yeah, ward off those negative spirits. Very interesting. So the reverence and power, unlike European jesters, who were often seen as marginalized or lowly, or just like the king's pet, they they were there, but they didn't have the reverence that they should have been. The griots, how do you spell it? The griots were high status hereditary advisors to kings and noble families. The memory of the people, they were oral historians and genealogists because they held the only record of a king's lineage and past treaties. A king could not rule without his advisor, his griot. Satire as social control. They had the unique right to use satire and gossip to check the power of the elite. If a leader was becoming corrupt, the griot would use praise songs that contained hidden barbs or remonstrances by indirection to shame them into better behavior. Does it sound like something that we know? It's called hip hop. Those guys are absolute masters of the voice. Um, oh, that was the Egyptian. That goes way back. These funny little pygmy people. Well, they were not just, they were semi-divine figures, those little guys that came up to Egypt. So, yeah, that lineage didn't stop with the, stop it, I don't want you around, the griots. Oh, stop it, all my phones are going crazy right now, and I don't know how to turn them off. Okay, then we have to get to the, before we get to the Hayoki, because that, I hope like you guys will run down that little line, because we had like the Europeans, like the Aztecs also had, they don't know where the Mayas actually come from because they just moved into that village that was there, so we don't really know what was happening before there. And the lords kept also dwarf jesters and entertainers. And they also had chocolate. It must be something about the chocolate and the Oompa Loompa people that collect chocolate. I don't know why. And the Aztec god Xolotl was sometimes depicted as a jester, linking these figures to the divine world of lightning, fire, and the dead. So they were special. They were outside normal. And then, like in those mountains, there are still today hundreds of little tribes, which are just like, some not even 1,000 left, that live way too far up in the Andes and eat way too much coca. No, they don't really, but they are some lineage. They've got some very, very interesting lineage that they're holding and have held for a very, very long time. I just thought it was like, for me, it was just so interesting that, the more I kind of dug to it a little bit, and it was like everybody except the Indians had the jesters um, to advise the king. Hmm. Oh, Scotty, that's so sweet. We're so far away. Hmm. That was so interesting. I'm sitting in my Nigerian's car when I'm in South Africa. I'm listening to this because she was like, they're so weird because they unplug from whatever's going on. So they will, like, they'll get their television set and they will jiggle it so that they can't get anything else. They can't be programmed. So all Nigerians' houses away from Nigeria. And they only have one program, and that's their own home program. So they unplugged from any of the other shit. And I'm listening to his radio, the music in his radio, and thinking, I know this song. It's like, sounds just like Eminem, but it's not quite. So it's like
Where's this music from, Ken? No, it's from my home village. Oh, really? So it sounds just like Eminem. It just gives me this like look. These guys got fed totally by the Africans because they're magicians of music. And Kenny came from a village. You know, they've got like 260 languages and nobody understands. They didn't write. He taught himself to write, but it used to be so tiny. Like this. Mathematics was brilliant. He could do maths and Sudoku in seconds. But his words, because they come from a village where it's too sacred to actually write the word, and they sing. They do a lot in song. So anytime he would with maths, any mathematical things, he could like just write out numbers like this, but he would do them, and he had all these phone numbers in his head, and he would make them into this incredible little song. I was like, okay. Oh, it was. Oh, I didn't know that. No, also, well, it connected to the gods, absolutely, but that's the proper. I didn't know that the children were not allowed to have it. But they also added other things to it. I don't know, maybe a couple of roots that were a little, you know. And sometimes it's this chemical compound. I know they did a lot with chili with it as well. It's smart, Scotty. It's a good number, 47. Mm. Angel food cake. I did have cake. I did have real cake. It's one of my best movies, that is Chocolat, because she does almost like magical chocolate and mixed it with stuff. And that's the whole thing, is to actually do it with, it's not the cacao that we just buy. So something else that the West really abused, hot chocolate. The Germans and the Dutch, the German chocolate. You know, that Toblerone is they actually thinking that they can't call it chocolate anymore because it contains almost no chocolate. It's just like gross fat and artificial sugar and all sorts of weird things, but almost no chocolate. That used to be a thing we'd get in our parcels from Germany. Toblerone. Toblerone was nice. But I don't know, apparently now it's. I will do a thing because that will do. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. I'll expose like this whole Swiss thing. A few of them. So, okay, the griot were the West African, and for centuries these hereditary poets delivered rhythmic stories over instruments like the kora or the balafon, preserving genealogies and social values. So it was all verbal, drizzled with chocolate. Yummy! I can eat way too much chocolate. Oh, I like chocolate. I like chocolate very much. I could live on chocolate. Easy peasy. Way too much chocolate. It's the creaminess. I like the creaminess of the chocolate. And in Jamaica, obviously, during the 1950s, this tradition evolved into the toasting. Who knows what toasting is? The chanting or talking rhythmically over beats. This was a direct survival of African on performance. And obviously, this is just like very, very cleverly. Now we all want cake. I know, we just want cake. I'm also thinking I haven't got anything that I can pretend it's cake. I've got chocolate. Somebody gave me chocolate for my birthday, but I haven't got cake. I ate nice cake yesterday.
It was very nice. The Germans make cake. Oh, they really do make cake. Layers and layers of cake. I'm not a cake person, but I had one of those cakes. And obviously they didn't put in here, so that was also, there would have also been those clever, smart, grokky people. What are they called? The griots, with their spirituals and the blues and the weaving of the dreadlocks and the maps in their hair. I mean, they really got so smart. So, yeah, that it was a direct survival of African oil performances. And the Bronx in the 1970s, with the Caribbean immigrants like DJ Kool, brought these rhythmic talking styles to New York block parties, where they merged with African American oral traditions to become rap. So it's like just, it's this huge part, this core part of their DNA in the spoken word. They do a lot of poetry, Africans. $3 a peach. Oh my goodness. You could almost go to Japan. The fruit, it's always been like that. Yeah. So yeah, they've always been like amazing with their words. Okay, then we have our famous and fabulous, which you guys should really know more about than me. But just as we were doing the full, so everybody's got their full. I found it like just so interesting. Where is it? Okay. Well, okay. The wife's full role was often and even more sacred, obviously, than it was. And they weren't the shamans, they were slightly different. What? It's like a watermelon. It's James and the Giant Peach. Hmm. I know, black chili. Oh no, I did something which was like a local cake. Um, no, it's not the Amalanda, it's something else. Ostfriesland cake. Yeah. I had apple strudel, my friend's birthday the other day, and then we had cream and strawberries with it. That was so nice. But this is like, we've discovered this crazy little bakery up literally in a parking lot. You'd never say it's a bakery. But when you go in, and we've been there about like 12 times, and we've only managed to sit twice because in fact, we actually booked a table for my birthday. Um, it's not so small. It goes down, 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 and it's called what's called a Land Cafe. So there are a few of them around here, and we've got a big tea museum just down the road from us as well. But they take their coffee and they have all sorts of cups and old mills, coffee mills, and it's like old paintings and old things, anything to do with coffee. So the history of coffee is kept in, it's like a living museum. So you go and have your cake. But they hardly even have a kitchen. And I actually figured that they bake all this cake themselves. Because when we walked in, it's like there's just cake everywhere. We went, oh my God, what do you do with all this cake? And then obviously, because you can never get a table there, we know what they do with all the cake. They sell it fast. What's a German thing? Cake. Cake. They like beef stroganoff is they eat something similar, but stroganoff is Russian. It's the paprika thing. It's the goulash.
Coffee, and there's a lot. Well, I suppose you don't spend so much. You spend also lots of money on coffee, but it is a big thing. They do. It's a very big thing. It's a whole, it's a religion, coffee and cake. And I'm really not a cream cake person at all. That's so sad, Scotty. We lost last year, like, what was it, like 40%? 40% of the trees in a forest just died because of bugs. And they literally just like bug, and then whoop, they died. Can't they grow them on the same tree? But they go through that in different years. It's like, but this is, I don't know, this I was saying, we must like have a look into that with the seeds. So there's only like 5 crops which people are allowed to grow. And you're not allowed to grow you're only allowed to grow 2 varieties of tomatoes and like 3 varieties of onions, 25 varieties of potatoes, as long as it's been stamped by Monsanto and by um, Bayer. But all those other things, um, I don't know. We need to like really praying. Praying's good, but we need a little bit more than prayer because it'll also it will exhaust the soil. You need to have crop rotation. You can't just grow these hybrids. Okay, so you're just for you guys. No, it was for me too. We have okay, these are just fun, and there were a lot of women. Okay. So these are, and they're all over. They're all very similar. Some are a little bit more colourful, but they're very black and white. The Hayoka. They're not your classic tarot card thing. They are. Does anybody remember these? These were just my fun drawings. So we got cat ones and owl ones and bird ones and totem ones and angel ones. Cat ones. I like the cat ones. Ow. And crow ones. But they're pretty much black and white, hey? And that was this, yeah. So their life is never their own. Once they become a Heyoka, they don't belong to themselves anymore. They belong to the people. And obviously, what was I going to say? I can't remember. The Heyoka, or they were the sacred clown. It's one of the most famous truth tellers, archetypes. They're called. One becomes a Heyoka through a vision of the thunder beings. They do everything backwards. And that was, that's that riding the horse backwards. Sorry, these were just from the internet, but you have these guys as well. They like really nice. You can listen to this dude, that's for sure. But this is Shiva, huh? This is Rudra, the lord of the animals. But that's for another day. That's really another day. I'm learning Sanskrit. I'm going to learn this stuff. I've actually found a guy called Shiv. I have to I thought, okay, I'm going to talk to Shiv and see if he can teach me privately Sanskrit, because learning the stuff by myself, it's like been 3 years of it's challenging. I'm sure there's an easier way.
I mean, it's nice that I'm like having, but it's like I want another level. Yeah. I want to be able to speak it properly, and I don't want to just learn over the internet for myself. I don't have any nice Indian people around here. Put on right. I put on weight. Oh, thanks, Scotty. I feel, thank you. I preferred being lean. I feel like the little Michelin man. Hmm. I'm not happy being a Michelin man. So, yeah, that riding the horse backwards, that was, and he used it. I didn't realize it was from that. Was Viktor Frankl. I don't know if anybody has heard of Viktor Frankl. He was a concentration camp survivor, a psychologist, like a motivational speaker, one of the originals, the first ones. Yeah, no, I definitely. So there was that also. So that's really what they look like. Sorry, it's so small. And the glyph if you want to go and have it. This I love this. This is the hoppy stuff. I mean, I love their mouths. And then I was thinking, like, who came up with prison outfits to be black and white? I mean, how sadly psychological for these people. You know? But that came from England. Very weird people. So sorry, I can't make this bigger. She don't want to talk to me to go bigger. This one. Remember there was that Johnny Depp movie, and he had a horse called Smith or something. He was always riding the horse backwards, and he was painted in black and white. I didn't realize it. I only just put it together for myself today. So that's what he was in that movie. Does anybody know which movie I'm talking about? Oh, Skinny's good. Thanks, Scotty. Hmm. No, you know what it's like. Yeah, I have to be very careful now that I don't have my dog. I've got time to think about and catch up with things that my illnesses. Thank you. I'm, I'm not in a good spell. I've got my knees sore. Oh no, I'm gonna like no. I can't get up the stairs. It's so complicated to get up to the third steps. Uh, but it's okay. Heaney, thank you for my birthday wishes as well. Yeah, welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey. So we've just been bouncing around shamanic tribes and shamanic practices and the fool, which every culture seems to have, except our beautiful Indians, the Bharats. They were smart enough and wise enough to know that everybody's a fool. It's yeah, it's completely yeah. I'm actually going to study with some Indian people because you know me, I don't want this half baked stuff. Because I thought, I can do it on my own. I thought, no, you can't. No, you can't. It's so nice to say, no, I can't. So, yeah, yeah, I've had a very interesting 2 weeks. Huge callings. I think we all have on different levels here, there, and everywhere. Just to listen through music, through whatever, through the trees. Nature's talking a lot. Just like connecting to your heads, guys. It's the be your own Hayoka. Don't really, it's the self-realization, and it's pretty much all over. Yeah. We are absolutely. That's what I said. We are the divine. We are mystics. So we need to. This is really important, actually. That we need to like go and have a serious talk with ourselves, We need to sit with a mirror, and we need to, because we're moving into a whole new lineage. We don't have that much time. As long as you eat clean, as long as you eat the best that you can, yeah. If you have it, and you know what you'll do, you know, people are stopping all sorts of and changing things and changing the music they listen to, or not wearing synthetic clothes anymore. Still wearing leather, but no plastic. Just wearing natural fabrics. So we're all doing slightly different things, but we're all tensioning up to get more and more organic in our being. To be organic in everything, whether it comes, it's on the 3 levels, yeah. So, and they all need to align. Okay. I'm going to basically, yeah, but it's to sit and talk with yourself and talk with your higher self and acknowledge that you need to level up and level up and be the voice, be the emissary, be the light. Don't get sidetracked with too much stuff. You also abstain yourself out. No labels. I think but you know what? Hey, if I lived in the desert, then I would also, these guys they come back with some amazing camera footage. They go and live with tribes, usually in southern Africa, and you just eat what you manage to eat, what you manage to get for that day. If it's crocodile, you're going to eat crocodile. You caught a snake, you're going to eat a snake. Yeah, you've got monkey, you're going to eat monkey. Very, very little veggies. They get honey. They like honey. They find honey. Let's see, they big. They'll kill you for honey. Yeah, they'll kill you for not. There's respect. But you're not allowed to. But you don't steal somebody else's honey. There's a lot in that to be said in that. Oh God, we're such a mess in the West. Veggie meals, but mix them with meat. Is even great. The Italians, I was talking about the way that I did at one stage with my Italian doctor lady person. But it's the Italians, as she would say, we eat meat just a little for the taste. Not these huge, you guys in the States also eat these big lumps of steak. And in South Africa, but you see it's in America, it changes the body, yeah? So we have these boer neck, very solid necked, those rugby players that are born rugby players because of the meat that they eat. And they feed it from they break their teeth on it, They're given this dry meat like jerky but thick chunks of biltong when they're teething. I was given chocolate. I like that. I wasn't given chocolate to eat, but I had that really hard cooking chocolate. I can remember that. My father drilled a hole through it. So it was tied around my neck, and I would chew on the chocolate. Lucky baby. You've never ate a dick. No sweet meats for you. What was Alex saying? Oh, it's really, they've opened this, and it's so wrong. They've opened in Hanover, they've opened a so-called South African restaurant. I said, well, what do they have? Do they have pies? He said, no, it's crazy. They've got giraffe and zebra and lion. So the only thing that he's going to go try is they've got Pappenwurst. That's like polenta. So I said, why don't you just have polenta and sausage? It's like, so it's what I used to give you guys. I think eating that meat diet, the carnivore diet, is very good. But then there was a few years back, what was it called, the Atkins diet, and it was also really, really, really good. But people got quite sick on that, and that was lots of meat, high, like protein of red meat, but you could have a lot of cream and cream sauces with it, and then you had 2 peas and one baby tomato and 3 kernels of corn. But yeah, no, the carnivore diet is just meat and salt, and meat and salt and water. So people eat differently, and that's also fine. From Beatles juice, Beetlejuice. Was a good Beatles juice. That was a good movie. Beetlejuice. So now I still got a headache from all my chocolate, my cake. Sweet hangover. And cream. I'm glad I just do that once, maybe twice a year. I don't do the cream cakes. The Germans do them where they cut them into like 3 or 4 layers, hey? And then it's cake and cream and cake and cream and cake and cream. And they do a lot of fresh fruit with it. I don't like that kind of thing. I like other things that they do. But they don't do any savory stuff. They just do sweet stuff. And if they do savory things, it's like weird. Mhm. And if I let my hair down, I'll be from the Ant Adams family and not Bobby Boy. Is on my right. Oh, isn't he cool? He's my favorite. He's a Hopi. Yeah, they pull all this stuff, and it's just like so sad. Hmm. He's a Hopi dude. I was just saying, I don't know about this black and white like prison outfit. A lot to say. Angel food. Angel food, it's actually Japanese and Chinese make that. We used to call it angel cake. Yeah. Oh yeah, you still got daytime, or you're going for cake, or you're going to have coffee, or you're going to have cake and what? Cake and wine? Sound right? No, cake and coffee really does go the best. Yeah, the Hopi, yeah. Not that many. They hide away where they do. The one group that I work with, that she does a lot with Hopi. She's been working with them for a few years now. She gives them a lot of money. She gets a lot of these things made. They make, and they're expensive. But there very few left of them. And then there's, what's her name? Mother Corn Cob or something. And she makes these amazing statues. Um, and she only makes like a few a year. I know. He's wonderful. I know, Mr. I know he's absolutely fabulous. I'm sure I see him in the middle of my dream time. Something like this, but he's a lot bigger than this. This is a funny little one. So, how was everybody's dreaming the other day, by the way? Because we were really doing some big work out there. And I didn't realize it. And it's like the more I think it's like
since like this Navratri stuff, since the 17th, and going in, well, since the equinox, and the mother's around, and then like I've been like trying to remember it. I'm trying not to remember it, but I'm remembering it because it was like I was with a whole lot of people that we were like in white saris with gold um, trim on it. So we're all being, lots of us, even if you don't remember. I'm sure, and friends. So we're being like really schooled, and that's why we need to like some, because we're not remembering, but we are remembering, and that was just like so amazing with that. Trista put a great thing on about this cat that was talking. There's another woman that's got a cat, which is quite amazing, and my dog, and I don't know how to actually work with it nicely, but it through because he comes through, and now I really tune in with him every morning. Um, but he shows me things. Hello, my baby. He shows me lots of things and tells me where to go when I'm walking. But I mean, it's wonderful to see the birds and the crows and the clouds. But what else are they telling me? I need to take myself up also to another level. Yeah, but we know that because we've been doing a lot of work, and I will not remember when I will. Yeah, but we're being schooled. Scotty, yeah, you're fighting, lots of fighting, protecting. A lot of the fighting's over, but these guys they just don't want to. They don't seem to want to stop. Yeah, it's your journey. You're really a rainbow warrior, a light warrior. Oh. I think we all are be fine. But I've tried to stop a lot. I don't call myself a warrior anymore. Because I would think because I'd rather be a teacher out there in the temples. So we're being some are from Orion. Orion's like manifests, and you weren't. We're still in it. It's actually that's why I love this Vedic stuff because we really have everything. So what is it called? Kitika, 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 Kirtaka, Kitika. It's and it would affect you very much as well, Scotty. So it would be it's so and me. So it affects everybody, but it's what we're going through right now. This little clump of stars, which is like the Aries, the latter half of Aries, and the early part of Taurus, and that's actually the Orion, the seven. So they only have six. So sometimes they have seven, but sometimes they have six. And you've talked there with the fighting. It's very interesting because the six mothers were actually of Orion. Can't remember what they were called. They've got some wonderful names. They brought up Kitikaya or Skanda, who is Ganesha's brother, who is actually, they schooled him in knowledge and wisdom and war. He is the god of war and wisdom, not knowledge. Interesting. Knowledge, wisdom. And he, Skanda, yeah. So he's got a medicine pouch, yes. He's cool, hey?
No, I'm still far away. The closest is Venus. Venus is very aspected at the moment. Right? I'm just, I'm just going to get my head around the Vedic stuff. It's more than enough on this planet for me to do for right now. It's what I've got to do here. So yeah, so that's very much that warrior stuff. The Pleiadian, the Pleiades, the Pleiades. Yeah. And yeah, the frog beans. Yeah, we just yeah. So yeah, go and tune into the dragonflies and the frog beans. Mm. I said that was like way back when they first started with the Orion, the Pleiadians and the Arcturians. And she was kind of a friend, a sort of associate friend of mine. And she sold like those, what are those golden products. And she had houses, Amway, and she was a crazy French woman. And she was very big on like putting the Arcturians and the Pleiadians out there. They're usually seven. A lot of people see seven, but they only work with six. So, yeah. I'm just, you know what? That's why I love this. So late already. I love the Veda stuff. And it's what I said like long back then. It's like, oh my God, I need to talk about this 5D. I'm just trying to get my brain vaguely around this 3D stuff. Okay, because my head is totally in 5D. Oh, don't you like him? Oh, I love him. He's my favorite. Okay, let's put somebody else pretty up there. But I must go now. I have to continue. I thought he was particularly fabulous. Hee hee. I like her. I like her. You didn't like that one. I like that one. It's really trippy. Here we go. Hmm. Six mothers, yeah. And they all fit him so very often. Kartikeya is portrayed with six heads. So he got knowledge and taught by each one of them. Yeah. Yeah. It's a pleasure. Thank you, Christine. I hope you had a wonderful new year and just keep going. Keep going. It's like don't look for problems now. Don't pick up problems. Just let that pathway just like open up in front of us. Yeah, dance through it. And that was, yeah, I wanted just to remind us as we're going to say goodbye, is that all of these fools, they all have humor and they have this kind of bliss, this little bit of stupidity. They have fun. They see um, all this drama and they come at it very often with a light-hearted way. So this, I think, is hugely the message that I'm trying to put across to us and put into some is that don't look down, just be light-hearted. Yeah? Keep keep the jokes within yourself. Yeah, keep yourself reasonably happy. Do things with joy. Do things, whatever you're doing, do with absolute love. Do everything for the goddess, for the mother, father, God, or nature, or whichever one you want to call it. Yeah, just be open and keep growing and keep it reasonably light. That you like in a little
playfield because it can get a little too serious sometimes. So on that, Scotty, I'm going to love and leave us because I've got to want to go and do this meditation. It's 11 o'clock here. So I don't know what time you guys have got there. And you know, I don't talk that much. My throat, can you hear? It's like, so thank you all for being here. It really feels like a Friday. It's a magical Friday. So do some full dreaming. Which part of the full are you? Go and be this fabulous mystic because we all are mystics. Keep the vibes here high within ourselves and focus on what you want to bring in. Absolutely. Thank you, Millie. Thank you, Millie. Thank you, Scotty boy. Thank you, Millie. Love that. Love you all so much. I don't know. Ohini was here. Thank you, Hani. And yeah, I know you do, Scotty. And Millie too. I know. Very sweet little team. Very powerful team. So, Scotty, when you see that, the Beetlejuice dude, you know it's me, okay? I'm kind of very into that costume at the moment. Love, 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 love you all, and have the most magnificent evening, afternoon. Love you, Scotty, and have the most amazing, fabulous birthday cake. Yeah, go party. Okay. No. Okay. Love, love, love everybody. Take a good one. Love you, Millie.